guys, welcome back to 428 Shibuya Scramble. This is DJ Gamer Girl signing on. So, last episode we finished up the last block, started the current one. Maria is with the guy with the cane on a roof, kind of just letting him talk. And we ended up getting a bad end for Achi, which we then fixed with Minorikawa, but then Minorikawa got a bad end because Achi, so here we are. Now it seemed like all these young fellows were ready to follow suit, eager to take him down a peg. Your old news, pal. Ain't your business to tell us how to do things. Achi felt a confusing flood of anger and sadness that he couldn't quite control. I'm not messing around here, you guys. He grabbed the nearest punk by the collar and hefted him in the air. Then someone shouted from behind him. Hey, what are you doing? Achi put the guy down and turned to see Susumu standing there. Mind telling me just what's going on here, Achi? Susumu flashed his underlings a sharp glare. They immediately took to their heels. Well, since Susumu's here, just what the hell? These kids were probably the reason he ran out into the middle of the street and got hit by a taxi. Had to have been. I asked what was going on here. There was a threatening note in Susumu's voice. That's what I want to know. What the hell's happened to SOS, man? Susumu's face twisted with displeasure. You're an outsider now. This isn't your business. I don't give a damn if it's my business or not. When I left you in charge of SOS, You shut your damn mouth, Susumu roared. Yeah, that's right. You left me in charge. So don't you dare give me any lip about how I run things. His sudden ferocity left Achi at a loss for words. You're not the one busting your ass out here. I am. Susumu stalked toward Achi, his face red with emotion. I've had to work so hard to keep things going with you gone. Do you have any idea what it's been like? Do you know what I've had to put myself through to keep SOS together? There was nothing Achi could say to that. He just kept his mouth shut and let Susumu talk. You were gone. I thought maybe I could do things like you did. All at once, Susumu seemed to deflate a little. He hung his head, hiding his face. And if I couldn't be like you, then... Hey man, I get it, and I'm sorry. But Susumu kept his face averted. Please, he muttered. Stay out of our business. Then he turned on his heel and headed off without looking back. Achi watched him leave, feeling a painful sting. Achi? Hitomi asked after Susumu was gone. Are you sure you're okay with leaving things like this? Achi shrugged heavily. Susumu said he's doing what he can. It's not my place to butt in. He turned his back on Hitomi. He still needed a moment. Achi, you're being unreasonable. About what? He felt like he'd been wounded to his very core, and he wasn't sure what to do about it. You want to help people who are in trouble, right? Hitomi asked quietly. Yeah, I guess. Achi's voice was glum. Well, I'm in a whole lot of trouble right now. Yeah, I know that. No, Achi, you don't. Hitomi's tone was chipped and firm. Please go to your sister. What are you talking about? It doesn't matter now. Yes, it does. Hitomi's shout stopped him in his tracks. Achi, right now, the thing I'm having the most trouble with is that you won't go to the hospital. Don't you get it? How could I possibly be happy with you helping me if you have to sacrifice your own sister to do it? Achi couldn't answer that, and he knew it. Please go to the hospital. I'm asking you to, and I'm definitely someone in trouble, so it doesn't count as breaking your promise, right? I appreciate that, Achi said softly. So yeah, how about we drop by the hospital for a little bit? The emotions Achi had been trying to hide now came welling to the surface. Well, we'll go see Suzune, and after that we can go look for your sister. Would that be okay with you? That would be more than okay with me. At long last, Hitomi smiled at him. Yeah, if you're gonna go together. I do not feel safe leaving her alone. Back in sync with each other, Achi and Hitomi headed to the hospital. Shibuya Central Hospital was one of the foremost general hospitals in Japan, outfitted with top-notch medical facilities and staffed by highly skilled personnel. Individuals like Suzune with rare blood types were sent to the hospital from far and wide because of its cutting-edge hematology center. Hospital division that deals with blood. Its goal is to provide high-end care to patients with blood disorders, including blood screening, treatments, transfusions, the management and supply of blood products, and other related services. Achi asked Hitomi to stay in the waiting area while he headed to... No! Do not leave her alone! Even for just the tiniest little bit! These guys are brash enough to attack people in broad daylight, in crowded areas. What's to keep them from doing the same at a hospital? From the visitor's entrance, he passed by the nurse's station, and then entered the cardiovascular medicine section, and walked along a row of examination rooms. He walked by the first room as quietly as possible, catching sight of a mother and daughter sitting together in chairs in the hallway. The mother was crying softly. "Oh, Takuya, he's only 15, she murmured under her breath. The name Takuya didn't ring a bell. It was the only 15 that got a reaction out of Achi. Only 15. He couldn't imagine anything good coming after that. To be cruelly taken away when one was still so young. Achi could feel the woman's pain as deeply as it were his own. When he reached Suzune's room, Dr. Saiki was the attending physician explained her condition. The doctor did his best to keep the explanation simple, but Achi was too worked up to process much of what he said. He did manage to wrap his head around a few things. At around 10 o'clock that morning, Suzune had had a seizure. For a while it had been touch and go, but finally her condition had stabilized. However, since she hadn't regained consciousness yet, she wasn't allowed any visitors. That was the gist as far as Achi could tell. "What's your father doing today? He still hasn't come by," Dr. Saiki said. Achi wasn't sure what to tell him. It was certainly odd. There was no way his father wouldn't have rushed to the hospital if he'd heard Suzune had taken a turn for the worse. "I'll give you a call once he's woken up. For now, you can head on home for the day." "Alright. Please keep a close eye on her, Doctor." Somberly, Achi went to find Hitomi in the waiting area. Outpatient reception had closed for the day, leaving the hospital quiet. His footsteps echoed softly in the corridors. Then, as he walked along, a peculiar sound drew his attention. It had come from over by the base of a nearby stairwell. Achi took a peek around the corner. Kanan and Stanley. The sight that greeted him nearly made him gasp aloud. In the dim light up ahead, he saw Kanan, and she had some white guy pressed against the wall, a knife to his throat. Achi quickly yanked his head back out of view. Could it be? Was this the man Kanan said she was after? Achi had to resist the urge to go charging out there. Some amateur heading in half-cocked might well be more of a liability to Kanan than any sort of help. He heard her mutter something to the men in English. I almost said English, but it's English. We know nothing about Alfar's background, nationality, sex, age. Achi could just barely make out the words, but since it was all in English, he had no idea what they meant. But we do know that whoever they are, they have a connection to Langley. Langley, Virginia. The CIA. Achi peeked out again, very cautiously, in time to see the man raise an eyebrow at Kanan's words. Interesting. That doesn't mean you need to threaten me at knife point, though. He flashed her a thin smile. It does, actually. Because I happen to know that you're a CIA agent. No sooner were Kanan's words out than the man grabbed her arm and tried to hurl her against the wall. Just before her head connected, though, she jackknifed her upper body forward, then planted both feet against the wall and kicked off with tremendous force. She used her momentum to launch herself forward, regaining her position with her knife against the man's throat. But during his brief opening, the man had managed to draw a gun from inside his jacket. Now the barrel was pressed tight against Kanan's heart. Achi swallowed the lump in his throat. How about we call a truce? Kanan said softly. She withdrew her knife. Yeah. Sounds like you and me are both after the same thing. The man likewise lowered his gun. With a faint smile, Kanan turned her back on him and vanished down the adjacent stairwell. Achi had no idea what just happened. They stopped fighting though, so this guy probably wasn't the Kanan's mastermind after all. If only Achi spoke a little English, he might have been able to follow the conversation. He found himself wishing he'd taken school more seriously. When he looked again, he saw that the man too had disappeared. Now get to Hitomi. Shouldn't have left her alone to begin with. Hitomi stood up from her chair as Achi hurried into the waiting area. How's Susune? She asked. For now, she's not in any immediate danger, they said. Well, that's good to hear. But more importantly, Kanan was here just now. What? Why? I'm not sure. I'm not smart enough to figure that out. Achi slumped his shoulders. Huh? What? I'm not quite sure what you mean. Exactly. I couldn't understand anything she was saying. Hell, he couldn't even figure out how to get through to Hitomi. May I have a moment? A voice spoke unexpectedly from behind Achi. Oh, hi, Stanley. His breath caught in his throat as he turned around. Standing there was the man Kanan had been struggling with. What's up? Achi asked. He tried to sound as nonchalant as possible, but the man wasn't looking at Achi. You're Hitomi Osawa, is that right? Yes. Hey! Achi snapped. Keep your distance! He stepped protectively in front of Hitomi. This guy, he's not what he looks like. Achi clenched his fist and adopted defensive posture. Huh? Hitomi seemed panicked. Achi said, this might be the guy Kanan was warning us about. I don't know who he is, but he's not our friend. The man calmly reached into his jacket pocket. Fearing he might be about to draw his gun, Achi braced for action. My name is Jack Stanley. I'm a security assistance officer with the U.S. Embassy. Achi held back his punch as the man held out his ID card. Embassy? What does someone from the U.S. Embassy want with me? Hitomi asked timidly. You're being targeted by a dangerous criminal. I'm here to take you into protective custody. Custody? Oh, that was Achi. Custody? Achi's temper flared. Buzz off, pal. We're busy here. Busy searching for Maria Osawa? Stanley asked. Achi and Hitomi exchanged glances. I know the full details of the trouble you currently find yourselves in. Well, alright then, Achi said. Then you should know that we don't have time to get taken into custody. I'm afraid you don't understand the situation we're dealing with. We're up against a dangerous international criminal here. Taking reckless action is only going to put her life in danger. Don't be a fool. This is no time to play in the knight in shining armor. Hey! Achi was infuriated, but he couldn't think of a comeback. After all, it was true that Hitomi had run into danger time and time again while she was with him. But I'm already safe, Hitomi insisted. I'm only here right now because Achi's been protecting me. She eyed Stanley sharply. I've got Achi with me. I don't need your protection. Achi felt a surge of pride that practically brought tears to his eyes. If Itami would have let him, he'd have given her an enormous hug. Stanley grimaced in resignation. Alright. In that case, how about I join your search for Maria? I can help keep you safe that way instead. I don't know. Itami grabbed hold of Achi's sleeve. The Stanley fellow didn't have the most trustworthy face, Achi thought. But he realized that he might be biased after being chased around by foreigners all day. After all, if this guy really were after Hitomi, he'd probably have already made a show of force. Not only did he have a gun on him, he was sufficiently skilled in martial arts to hold his own against Kanan. He'd have no trouble taking down a single unarmed opponent like Achi. Hitomi, I get the impression this Stanley guy is not our enemy right now. Hitomi gave a slight nod. Alright. I trust your judgment on this, Achi. Now then, what's the plan from here? Stanley asked. Not wandering around aimlessly around town, I hope. There was a trace of snideness in his tone. You can just keep your mouth shut, Achi replied. We can wander around town all day if we feel like it. Two can play the snarky game, he thought to himself. Poor Hitomi looked distressed. Very well, if that's what you want, I can stay quiet. But first, I need to inform the police that I have Miss Osawa in my custody. Wait, hold on, Hitomi blurted. That isn't a good idea. Stanley inclined his head. Why is that? Well, since you already seem to know most of the story, Hitomi quickly exclaimed the kidnapper's threat and described the search for the minivan. Stanley remained quiet, listening with obvious interest. I see, he said when she'd finished. Still, when that minivan exploded, didn't that make your promise to the kidnappers a moot point? Hitomi nodded. I suppose it did, didn't it? Let me ask just one more question. Do either of you know a detective by the name of Tateno? No, we haven't run into any detectives. No, we haven't run into any detectives. Yeah, exactly. The only folks we seem to run into are guys who are after Hitomi. I see. A grim expression crossed Stanley's face. Right, I'm going to get in touch with the investigation task force. I'll have them contact your parents for you. But would you mind speaking with them so they can confirm it's really you? Sure, alright, Hitomi said. Stanley got on his wireless and described the current circumstances to the police. Mr. Endo, hold on! Suddenly, Dr. Saiki appeared, running down the hallway. There's something I forgot to tell you. Regarding your father. Oh? Achi got a sinking feeling. I got a call from him yesterday afternoon. And he asked me something rather odd. Preparations for a transplant? I'm sorry, I'm not entirely sure I understand what you're asking. Saiki clutched the receiver. Desk Endo's brooding tone was more than a little disturbing. No, it's alright, Endo said. This is all just difficult to talk about, Doctor. Please forget I said anything. There's just one important thing I wanted to let you know. Yes? There's going to be a brain-dead woman coming your way in. Probably around 9 o'clock this evening, I expect. Her blood type is Bombay. Bombay was the extremely rare blood type that Endo's daughter, Suzune, possessed. Any transplant donor for Suzune would also need to have Bombay blood type. Since she has the same blood type as Suzune, the transplant itself isn't an issue, Endo continued. The only thing I'm concerned about is whether the procedure can be done within a limited time window. I hate to trouble you, but I just called because I think it would be best to prepare for the surgery as soon as possible. The more Saiki heard, the more disturbed he grew. It felt like he was listening to this man go on about some strange delusion. Doctor, please, just take good care of Suzune. With that, Endo hung up. Achi kept quiet as he listened to Dr. Saiki tell a story. Of course, that was yesterday, and still I haven't heard anything about a brain-dead girl turning up. After all, only God would know when someone would wind up in a state of brain... Oh no! Oh, don't tell me Achi's father is the one who hired the Kane assassin to kill Hitomi so they could get her heart into Suzune. Oh, shit. This ain't the way to do it, dude. I know you're pretty damn desperate, but this ain't the way to do it. There are better ways to... Well, hey, it's not like it's gonna matter. If the oil virus spreads on Shibuya, nobody's gonna have to worry about that. Because everyone will be dead. Including Suzune, and the father, and Achi, and everyone in the vicinity. Still, there was just something very strange about what your father said. It was as if he was certain someone was going to wind up brain dead, or... Just stop right there, Achi exclaimed. Stanley and Hitomi turned in surprise. They were still in the middle of their wireless call to the police. Don't get me wrong, the doctor said hastily. I'm not trying to imply that your father would hurt anyone. What I'm worried about is your father's mental state and... No! Achi interrupted again. That's not it. His own words from earlier spun within his head. So long as we have these cameras, this guy has nowhere to run. Security cameras. I'm sure this is the place. Oh my god, I am right! Why do I have to be right? I don't want to be right about anything bad that's gone on so far! The man with the cane. He'd been on the phone with someone. I didn't mean anything. It was just a coincidence. Couldn't be true. Achi searched desperately for some other explanation. That was it. Anyone from the downtown committee could have used the camera monitoring room. Yeah, no one's been by to check today. Nothing wrong with a little nap, yeah? No dice. No one from downtown had been by the surveillance room today. Couldn't be. Couldn't! Achi began to tremble. Is something the matter? Hitomi asked. Achi, you're pale as a ghost. Achi gazed beseechingly back into her face. Just one simple question could clear this whole thing up. Please tell me I'm overthinking this. He prayed inwardly before asking. Hitomi? Would you mind telling me your blood type? Why do you ask? Please, just tell me. I have a sort of weird blood type, Hitomi said. It's called Bombay. The last piece of the puzzle fell into place. There was no longer any room for doubt. Achi found himself facing a sad and painful truth. Why? Why? With an anguished scream, Achi punched the wall as hard as he could. But his fist still didn't hurt as much as his heart. Dad, why? It should be obvious why. No, he shouldn't have done it, but it should be completely obvious why. And he's a to be continued. That was short. Shorter than I expected. I expected to go through at least 1.5 videos on Achi. But we fixed Minorikawa's bad end because Achi didn't go running after the people. That has to have been the reason why Achi ended up slamming face first into the windshield. I know how to talk, I swear. Drop the wood, run away, don't come back. Yeah, sure. I'll be long gone before you even get halfway home. Kiwizuka, how you doing? There's an explosion. Get there in 10 minutes. Big explosion. Main roads are gridlocked. I was there. Terrible thing. Someone was inside. I'm aware. Nothing gets past you. How much have you heard? Middle-aged man. Taxi drivers here quite a bit. You look tired. Yeah, I guess so. His reply was barely audible. The taxi stopped outside of Heaven Publishing. Minorikawa left a 1,000 yen bill on the seat and exited the cab. He was stumbling his way toward the building when someone called out to him. Mr. Minorikawa! Oh, Osoa! For a moment, Minorikawa didn't recognize the man now idling his sedan at the curb, but when he took a closer look, he realized it was Kenji Osoa. Let's get that jump recognized in the timeline. Oh, Mr. Osoa. Sorry, but I haven't been able to look into that thing you asked about yet. I see. That's quite alright. Osoa looked pale and haggard. Minorikawa's reporter's sense started tingling. This guy's the key to something. He recalled what he'd heard the detective and his buddy talking about back at the scene of the explosion. Roughly 8 hours ago, they infected Maria Osoa with the Ua virus. If we don't administer Kenji Osoa's antiviral before she develops symptoms. You're caught up in something big, aren't you? How do you know that? Because, the reporter said simply, I'm Minoru Minorikawa. Osoa rolled his eyes. Well, that'll make this simpler, I guess. Get in. I'll tell you everything. Minorikawa hesitated. This might be his big chance to land a beyond incredible scoop. Yet it felt like it was too late to matter. Still, landing a major story, selling out an issue for a 4-star general gossip, and putting Heaven Publishing on the road to solvency, all that was the least he could do in Toyama's memory. You don't drop a story until you have what you need. Maybe it was too late to save Toyama. But then Minorikawa got in the car. Also, his tale was beyond anything Minorikawa had imagined. So they send you threatening emails, devise a plan to kidnap your daughter in order to get the antiviral, and now that that's failed, they're turning to bioterrorism. Finally, Minorikawa was able to flesh out the story behind the conversation he'd overheard earlier. And as he did, he could feel a growing sense of exhilaration. So basically, they're now effectively holding all the people in Shibuya hostage and demanding the antiviral. Is that it? Before Osoa could answer, a new idea occurred to Minorikawa. Wait, hold on. Why didn't they just start by holding this whole city hostage? Why did they need to go through all the trouble of kidnapping your daughter? I don't know. Osoa said, shaking his head. Perhaps they wanted the ransom money. For a mere 50 million yen? I can't imagine international terrorists bothering for that much. You can't know how terrorists think, also a spat. Let's just assume, though. Could there be some other reason they abducted your daughter? Osoa didn't reply. He was probably too preoccupied with finding a way to save his infected daughter to think of about anything else. Still, something about the course of events didn't quite add up to Minorikawa. But whatever the case, if the criminals were after this antiviral, the sticky with Osoa ought to bring him closer to the truth. Minorikawa was still mulling that over when they arrived at the laboratory. Ow! The two men hopped out of the car and were immediately rushed by a pair of security guards, who subdued them in a matter of moments. Hey! Minorikawa protested. What the hell is this? Unhand me! Osoa yelled. I'm Kenji Osoa. This is my lab. But evidently that didn't matter to the guards. Another man emerged from the building. He and Osoa exchanged a few brief words. Judging from the tone of the conversation, this was someone who outranked Osoa at the company. Take him away. As the newcomer looked on, the guards dragged Osawa into the building. Hey! Minorikawa shouted at the man as he began to walk away. Don't you know what's going to happen to Shibuya? Don't you care? If you just stand by and let the people of the city die, Okushi Pharmaceutical is going to be held responsible. The man stopped in his tracks. And if that happens, you'll be ruined personally too, Minorikawa added. You know I'm right. That will be up for the police to decide. You're going to regret this. Don't be a fool. Minorikawa's resolve was unwavering. His pen would met out justice. He might have come close to forgetting what he'd once stood for, but now the old fire was back. I see. It seems this isn't something to leave unchecked. The man gestured with his jaw. Take him as well. More security guards surrounded Minorikawa. Hey, stop it! Let me go! But though he struggled fiercely, there was no escape. Once he was dragged through those laboratory doors, Minorikawa never wrote another article. Another bad ending! Minorikawa's the unlucky one this time around. Okay. Even if Osawa can't get to his own lab, there's no real reason to go there. It's Osawa who needs to decide a different course of action. Okay, so we need to do Osawa to help Minorikawa. Alright, well, that's what we're gonna end up doing. So, next episode, we're going to start up Osawa's current block. Till then, this is the Gamer Girl, signing off.